Welcome to Don Bosco in a Year podcast.
Day 32. Learning to be a priest. The Convito Ecclesiastico. At the end of the holidays, I had three situations to choose from. I could have taken a post as tutor in the house of a Genoese gentleman with a salary of 1,000 francs a year. The good people of Murialdo were so anxious to have me as their chaplain that they were prepared to double the salary paid to chaplains up to then. Last, I could have become a curate in my native parish. Before I made a final choice, I sought out Father Cafasso in Turin to ask his advice. For several years now, he had been my guide in matters both spiritual and temporal. That only priest listened to everything: the good money offers, the pressures from relatives and friends, my own goodwill to work. Without a moment's hesitation, this is what he said: "You need to study moral theology and homiletics. For the present, forget all these offers and come to the convito." I willingly followed his wise advice. On 3rd November 1841, I enrolled at the convito. The Convito Ecclesiastico completed, you might say, the study of theology. In the seminary, we studied only dogma, and that speculative, and in moral theology, only controversial issues. Here one learned to be a priest: meditation, spiritual reading, 2 conferences a day, lessons in preaching, a secluded life, every convenience for study, reading good authors. These were the areas of learning to which we had to apply ourselves. At that time, two prominent men were in charge of this most useful institution: Dr. Luis Guala and Father Joseph Capasso. Dr. Guala was the work's founder, an unselfish man, rich in knowledge, prudent, and fearless. He was everyone's friend in the days of the regime of Napoleon I. Thanks to Dr. Guala, St. Alphonsus became a theological patron. This was a salutary step, long desired, and now we are reaping its benefit. Father Cafasso was Guala's right-hand man. His virtue, which withstood all tests, his amazing calm, his shrewd insight, and his prudence enabled him to overcome the acrimony that was still alive in some probable heirs against the Ligurians. Saint Alphonsus was canonized just a couple of years earlier. The prisons, hospitals, pulpits, charitable institutes, the sick in their homes, the cities, the villages, and we might add, the mansions of the rich and the hovels of the poor felt the salutary effects of the zeal of these three luminaries of the Turinese clergy. These were the three models placed in my path by divine providence. It was just up to me to follow their example, their teaching, their virtues. Father Cafasso, who for 6 years had been my guide, was especially my spiritual director. If I have been able to do any good, I owe it to this worthy priest, in whose hands I placed every decision I made, all my study, and every activity of my life. It was he who first took me into the prisons, where I soon learned how great was the misery of mankind. I saw large numbers of young lads, aged from 12 to 18, fine, healthy youngsters, alert of mind, but seeing them idle there, infested with lice, lacking food for body and soul, horrified me. Public disgrace, family dishonor, and personal shame were personified in those unfortunates. What shocked me most was to see that many of them were released full of good resolutions to go straight, and yet in a short time they landed back in prison, within a few days of their release. On such occasions, I found out how quite a few were brought back to that place. It was because they were abandoned to their own resources. Who knows, I thought to myself, if these youngsters had a friend outside who would take care of them, help them, teach them religion on feast days, who knows but they could be sheared away from ruin, or at least the number of those who returned to prison could be lessened. I talked this idea over with Father Cafasso. With his encouragement and inspiration, I began to work out in my mind how to put the idea into practice. leaving to the Lord's grace what the outcome would be. Without God's grace, all human effort is in vain.
Thank you for joining us today on this journey to know Don Bosco. May these reflections deepen our faith, guide us closer to God each day. And hope to see you all tomorrow. Till then, keep seeking, keep praying, keep growing.